Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're completely unpacking the biology behind waking up early, and more importantly, how you can finally outsmart your own pillow-loving brain. Look, we all have those grand plans, right? You confidently set your alarm for 5:30 a.m., vowing to work out, eat a healthy breakfast, maybe even meditate. But then, that alarm blares, usually that terrifying default radar sound, reality hits, and you immediately start negotiating with yourself for just 9 more minutes of sleep.
So, let's dive right into this. Why exactly do you relentlessly hit that snooze button and stumble around like an absolute zombie, feeling like the day is already wasted before it even truly begins? Well, you're definitely not alone in this, and the very first thing you need to hear today is that you are not lazy. Waking up early, it's not about having some ironclad sense of willpower. It's actually all about a simple biological system. You see, it boils down to a phenomenon called sleep inertia. When your alarm clock ruthlessly throws you into that foggy, half-conscious limbo, that miserable zombie-like state isn't because you just aren't a morning person. It's literally a biological misalignment. Your brain is essentially being forced to transition from the absolute depths of deep sleep to full 100% wakefulness in a mere fraction of a second.
To put that into perspective, think of your brain in deep sleep as a deep-sea diver down in the dark ocean depths. Down there, everything is slow, it's calm, it's heavy. But when that alarm goes off, it's like yanking that diver straight to the surface way too fast. The diver, your brain, is left completely scrambling, confused, disoriented, and fatigued. It's desperately trying to catch up to this sudden switch into wake mode. This brings us to part 1, mastering the night before. Because the crucial point here is that fixing this miserable morning transition doesn't actually start in the morning. If you're waging a war against your alarm clock at 5 a.m., the harsh truth is you've kind of already lost. A smooth transition requires resetting your body's 24-hour internal clock, and that whole process starts the night before. I mean, if your clock is set to make you feel tired at midnight, going to bed at 9 p.m. is just going to leave you staring at the ceiling wide awake. So, to actually reset that internal clock, you've got to manage your light exposure. At least an hour before bed, you absolutely must swap out blue light for warm amber or red lamps. Why? Well, these warm colors are melatonin-friendly. They barely interfere with that precious hormone responsible for making you sleepy. Blue light, on the other hand, is literally melatonin's kryptonite. It completely tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime, and sadly, that's exactly what is blasting from your phone, your laptop, and your TV. And look, I totally get it. You've had an incredibly long day, and scrolling your way through the evening feels like the ultimate way to just shut your brain off. But protecting your melatonin, it is an absolute game changer. Try swapping those screens for something else entirely. Pick up a physical book, or maybe listen to a favorite podcast. If you do this consistently, at the exact same time every night, within just a week or two, falling asleep and consequently waking up will feel drastically easier.
Moving right along to part 2, the cortisol awakening response. Here is the catch. Even when you completely nail the night before, even with a fully reset clock and a truly great night's sleep, you're still going to wake up with a mild, natural grogginess. You aren't completely immune to sleep inertia, it's just going to be much milder. And you need to intentionally clear it out.
So to push your brain into full alertness, you have to amplify melatonin's daytime counterpart, cortisol. Now, cortisol is the hormone that makes you feel alert, and it naturally peaks shortly after you wake up in what scientists call the cortisol awakening response. Your number one job in the morning is to amplify this response so that any lingering sleep inertia fades out as quickly as humanly possible.
And the absolute fastest way to trigger this amplification? Get natural light directly into your eyes. Opening the curtains is good, but actually stepping outside is way better. Because natural daylight is drastically more powerful than your indoor bulbs. Getting just 5 to 10 minutes of natural sunlight right after waking up significantly cuts down that lingering melatonin and skyrockets your cortisol response. It completely clears the grogginess and sends a super clear biological message to your internal clock saying, hey, this is when we wake up from now on.
Now, of course, it might be pitch black where you live during those brutal winter months, making morning sunlight pretty much impossible. If that's your situation, a sunrise alarm clock is a brilliant alternative. Instead of blasting an unholy siren, this little device slowly fills your room with light 30 to 90 minutes before you even need to be up. That gradual light exposure gently nudges your brain from deep sleep into lighter stages. That means by the time the alarm actually goes off, you're already halfway to being awake and feeling alert.
Which brings us to part 3, intentionally using your morning. At this point, if you follow these steps, you've got the biological tools to wake up early and actually feel good doing it. But honestly, waking up early only really matters if you use those morning hours intentionally. This is your one totally distraction-free window where your mind is actually clear and real change is possible. It's the ultimate proactive time, right before the rest of the world wakes up and starts demanding your attention. If you don't use it, you're missing out on the absolute most important part of your day.
And thankfully, you don't need some crazy, hyper-optimized routine that takes 3 hours to complete. For thousands of years, people across all different cultures have naturally leaned on 3 fundamental pillars to make their morning hours count: physical movement, mindfulness, and focused work. Let's break these down, starting with the first one.
For pillar 1, physical movement, this absolutely does not mean you need to go run a marathon or crush a brutal 2-hour gym session at 5:30 in the morning. We are talking about just 15 to 20 minutes of light movement. A quick walk, some stretching, maybe a few push-ups. It genuinely changes how your entire day feels. And if you can do it outside, even better. You're effectively stacking your habits, getting that movement in while simultaneously locking in that early internal schedule with your morning light exposure. Next up is pillar 2, mindfulness. Now please don't let that word intimidate you. You don't need to do anything overly complex or deeply spiritual here. Look, most people wake up and immediately grab their phones, instantly reacting to all the noise, the emails, and the sheer chaos of the world. Mindfulness is simply the exact opposite of that. It's giving your brain a calm, intentional launch. It's actively choosing just a few quiet minutes to journal, plan your day, or literally just sit quietly with your coffee to check in with yourself first. And that clarity for mindfulness sets you up perfectly for pillar 3, focused work. After a full night's sleep, your prefrontal cortex, which basically acts as the CEO of your brain, is completely recharged. It is perfectly primed for complex problem solving and creative thinking. This is the exact moment to make real progress on writing, studying, coding, or whatever it is that moves your life forward. And the best part? You get to do it before emails, notifications, and everyone else's priorities completely hijack your attention.
Now, as we wrap this up, I really want you to remember this overarching rule. The goal isn't perfection, it's momentum. You do not have to nail all 3 of these pillars every single morning. Life happens, right? On the tough days when you just aren't feeling it, just focus on one tiny habit. Take a 10-minute walk. Read just 1 page of a book. Because stacking these small wins day after day, well, that compounds into massive, noticeable progress over time. And really, that is the true power of waking up early. It's your daily chance to become a slightly better version of yourself while everyone else is still fast asleep. So, I want you to experiment with this science. Definitely give yourself some grace on the days you fall short and decide right now, what is the very first small step you will take tomorrow morning to claim your day before the day claims you? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.